Out of those fools.
Mr Chair.
The Honourable Simon Bridges.
It's great to take call. Wasn't that a pessimistic speech we just heard? And I don't blame the member. But, you know, there is so many good things going on in science and innovation and infrastructure and the things that we're talking about here. So much to be excited about in this great little country of New Zealand that it makes you want to shave your beard off, Mr Cunliffe. So, Mr Cunliffe, I'm really excited that we are part of a government, that I'm part of a government of infrastructure. That, you know, when you think about it, people don't take infrastructure for granted when it's going well, as it is in New Zealand, but we are a party of infrastructure that is making a really significant difference. I'm, of course, Energy Minister, and when you think about energy and the issues on which, you know, all of the international experts judge a country, whether it's competition, reliability, sustainability, we have a remarkable success story in New Zealand. In competition, it has never been more competitive than we see today. We have the companies fighting it out, hammer and tong in electricity, offerings of, you know, 250, sometimes more dollars than that for switchovers, the kind of incentives we have never seen before. And for the first time, actually this century, I think 2001 it might have been, the power prices went down, Mr Speaker. I'm really proud of that. I think it's because we set up an electricity authority that has has taken competition seriously. What's My Numbers one many will be aware of many other initiatives making a real difference there. Reliability. The reliability of supply. When Mr Cunliffe was in government, every couple of years there was a blackout, a brownout or a serious threat of that. I was still at school, that is true. But there were blackouts, brownouts, threats of it, rationing every couple of years. There has not been one since this party has been in government. And the reason for that is we've got the incentives in place, we've got the competition in place, we have fixed the system, Mr Speaker. New Zealanders can be really proud of that. Of course, we still do have issues, and they are not man or human-made, if you like, they're God-made. And we look at what's happening around Taupo right now and so on, where the power is out. In unison, I want to thank the people involved in that are working really hard in the snow and quite difficult weather conditions to get it back on. But in terms of the things we can control, it has never been more reliable in New Zealand. And sustainability. When we came in government, this is the bit the Greens hate to hear, but when we came into government, 65% of our electricity came from renewables. Well, today it's well over 80%. And that has been because, again, the market incentives have got things right, and we're a party that recognises the fantastic renewable advantage this country has, and we're playing to our strengths. We see solar rates go up exponentially in New Zealand, despite the scaremongering campaigns we see from the likes of the Greens and Greenpeace under the model that we have at the moment. We see batteries starting to be taken up. It's been great to be involved in a number of launches around batteries, both in the actual commercial grid, down to the great lines company, Alpine Energy in the South Island, looking at the biggest, I think it is, battery, grid-scale battery, Timaru. I think the member was born there, wasn't he? That in the Southern Hemisphere, I think, through to the kind of home-styled ones we see Tesla doing with Vector. Electric vehicles, heard a bit about them, but the numbers, again, growing exponentially, so that we're well on the way to meet this year's target, and they will keep going up and up. And I'm looking forward later this year to having more announcements in relation to electric vehicles as we roll out that strong package that is making a difference in that area. Look, in transport, Mr Chair, again, a story that is stronger than perhaps it has ever been. We are investing in the right areas, but in all areas, in fact, in the transport area. I'll get to that, we are investing more than ever before, $14 billion, Mr. Chair. $14 billion of investment over a 3-year period. Mr. Cunliffe mentions Auckland. We are investing over $1 billion a year in Auckland. That's more than we spent 10, 15 years ago in the early 2000s across the entire country. And whereas the projects when Mr. Cunliffe was in government were 100 million, 200 million, right at the moment we have Western Ring Route nearing completion, the biggest transport project ever in New Zealand. Amity working through it with a fantastic busing network, Mr. Cunliffe, in that there. East-West that the Greens oppose, but that is critical, a critical project to the biggest industrial hub in New Zealand, 1.25 to 1.8 some billion dollars, going to be a game changer out there. The CRL, biggest, most complex project ever, started, and that the government is ensuring is a success. Puhoi to Warkworth, the point is this, multi-billion dollar projects that are making this country move. And it's not only roading. A critique that we get from the lot over this side is that that's all there is. Actually in rail, we have invested under this government $4.2 billion, and that's making a significant difference. I actually think whilst it's in terms of KiwiRail, a business that is subsidised, it's got a bright future, and rail has a bright future as a result of what we are doing right now. And passengers, Metropolitan, because the members over the other side mentioned this, and passengers, we've seen them go from 2.5 million in the early 2000s to over 16 million. Those numbers will only increase as we invest more in the networks in places like Auckland and Wellington, and in freighting. It was great actually earlier last week to be in Masterton, where KiwiRail, and we're seeing a lot of this around the country, KiwiRail with Centreport in this case, just out of Masterton, have a logging hub, where the logging is coming together onto those trains and going through to the port. And I think for myself, as we see bigger ships, seeing later this year, biggest freighting ships we will have ever seen in New Zealand come into Tauranga, as other ports also deepen their harbours, as we see that more intensified freight, as we see these inland hubs again where the freight is coming in. Rail, if it plays to its strengths, has a strong future. We'll always need the trucks because they're important in getting those local goods around and for a number of the jobs that trains can't do. But we have a truly integrated system, and we have the Transport Agency with KiwiRail working really hard on that. Of course, there's many more areas that are receiving unprecedented investment under this government. In public transport, $2 billion going into that. I've been really proud, not a financial issue, but some simple changes we made to allow for the heavier buses. And now in Auckland, as a result of those changes that Craig Foss and I made, double-deckers all over Auckland, when I'm seeing them full with passengers getting around that city. And that's a great change that's being made. Cycleways, Unana. The level of debate in this house, Unana. Cycleways, 300 and... you can't travel by nanas, Mr. Cunliffe. $333 million, a real step change in funding, so that we are seeing urban cycleways pop up, not like bananas, Mr. Cunliffe, pop up in every urban centre with over 30,000 people, with the exception of Invercargill. And they are making a significant difference in terms of safety, in terms of environment, in terms of health benefits. It was a great pleasure, not in my election, the election of Todd Muller, actually Omakaroa into Tauranga, $7-8 million a cycleway, It's going to be a stunning success from health perspective, environmental perspective, safety perspective, commuting perspective, but also in tourism. So I'm really proud of that, Mr. Speaker. What a difference in infrastructure this government is making for New Zealand.
I call